Today we're going to be solving one of the most OG Leetcode problems, the two-sum problem. This is actually the first problem on Leetcode and a great place to start if you're unfamiliar with Leetcode. It is an easy problem, so today I'm just going to try to solve it cold, see how long it takes, and then we're going to go over the optimal solution, as well as the key takeaways from this specific problem that you can take forward with you to future Leetcode problems. So let's get right into it. Here's the two-sum problem. We're going to go right into it. I'm going to be solving these problems in Python. If you have a problem with that, go watch a different video. We're going to solve things here with Python because that is one of the easiest languages to do your coding challenges in. Also, please forgive me, I haven't done Python in a while, so I'm going to be Googling a lot of stuff about the syntax. Let's start the timer now. Given an array of integers, nums, and an integer target, return indices of the two numbers such that they add up to the target. You may assume that each input would have exactly one solution and you may not use the same element twice. You can return the answer in any order. Okay, so I'm just going to make note of some of the things here. And then I like to write out the pseudo because I think I know how I'm going to solve this already, so I'm going to iterate through the list, hash the values, and then as hashing, check if the complement target minus current equals something and hash. Cool. So let's see, how do we do lists? Great, timer stopped. As you can see, it worked. Yay! I totally forgot that in Python, they're not called hash maps, they're called dictionaries. That will be one of the key takeaways in this video, to know if you're using Python that it's called something different, and it's not just a hash map or a hash table, it's actually a dictionary. So we can see here that the runtime was 63 milliseconds. It beats about 80% of the other submissions. To touch quickly on the runtime of this problem, now we're going to use big O notation. That is the worst case scenario. Our worst case scenario is that nothing works, so we'd have to iterate through the whole list, which would be O of n. If you're not familiar with runtimes, I recommend brushing up on that before you do too much Leetcode, because in the programming interviews, if it's live with a person, they will usually ask you the runtime or location. Our particular solution takes O of n, and you might be asking yourself, is this the best we can do? And it is the best we can do for our worst case scenario, because you have to iterate through the whole list in the worst case scenario, so we know that our solution is optimal in terms of runtime. Now let's go ahead and look at the code again. We can see now that the solution was accepted and that we are hitting all the use cases of Leetcode. Now we're going to go through the problem really quickly. We can see here at the top that I did some pseudocode out. This was mainly just to know all of the important parts about the problem. So if we go back to the description, we can see that we're given an array of nums and an integer target. So we want to know if this array is sorted or not, because if this array is unsorted, we might solve this problem differently with two pointers going in, comparing the values and seeing if they add up to target. But because this list was just randomly unsorted items, we wanted to use a hash map instead for the most efficient solution. Now the next important thing is that there is exactly one solution, so you don't have to go and keep checking after that solution. Once you find your one solution, you can just quit, you're done, hooray, celebrate, it's over. Another important part of this problem is that you can return your answer in any order. That didn't super affect us for the particular algorithm that we're using here of using a dictionary. Also, when I'm doing these kinds of problems, I like to just pseudocode out a little bit so I know what I'm doing. With easy problems, it's less necessary, but when you get to the mediums and you can't really hold everything in your head, it really helps to get it out on Leetcode so then you remember what you were thinking and you're not halfway through coding and you're like, wait, what was that algorithm that I was trying to use? The basic idea of this problem is you have a hash map, you're going to hash each of the values. So you're going to have, for example, the first number in nums. Let's say it's 2, like in this first example. That's going to be the key, and then your value is going to be the index of that item in the list. So then when you find 2 items in the hash, so like let's say 2 and 7 that add up to target, you can just return both of the values from the hash map, which makes it super easy to return the indices at the end of this problem. Some key takeaways from this problem: one thing, especially when you're just starting out with Leetcode, is to know the syntax of the language you're coding in. I'm sure you all just saw me struggling to remember that a hash map is called a dictionary in Python, and how to even do a for loop in Python. Now, cut me some slack, I haven't done Python for a while, and if you're just starting out, it's going to look like this. You're going to have to Google some syntax, but it's much better to Google it now when you're practicing than when you're in an actual interview. The second important thing about this problem is to know when you need to use a dictionary and how they're helpful. So that's a really important thing whenever you need to check for uniqueness, if you need to check how many times something occurs, if you need to check all of the repeated letters. Hash maps are great. You can use things like counters with these hash maps, just incrementing the value of the hash map or the dictionary in the case of Python. So those are 2 important takeaways from this problem. I hope you found this helpful, and if you're interested in studying Leetcode on the go or just studying Leetcode through videos, make sure to check back in next week for when we solve another Leetcode problem. Thank you for watching.